Hi, Greg. Can you hear me? How's it, Greg? I think you're still on mute.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good, good. I think there's 11 people coming on.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll be coming on just now. Greg's made a presentation.
All right. I've had my hair cut.
Nice. It looks nice. I like it. I need a haircut. Mine's a bit similar to yours. It's so short. So Greg's going to do a presentation, and then I've got a few. I've sent him all the questions, like the main questions, and then I think between all of you, you can just answer any Q&As. So I said to him, we must do the presentation, and then we can do Q&A after that.
Sure.
So I'm surprised that no one's logging in yet, apart from you and I.
Well, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah. How's Joburg?
It's good. You are recording, eh?
It's true.
Yeah.
Greg, you're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry.
Okay, so should I just take it away? I thought you were going to introduce and stuff.
Sorry. Okay, yes. Just go for it.
Okay, so hi there. My name's Greg Taylor. I'm a molecular biologist and plant biotechnologist, and I am part of this company, Sanot, Pty Ltd. We basically specialize in synthesizing hypochlorous acid solutions for various applications. I'm just going to jump straight into it. I've basically got a short presentation that I won't go through it all in fine detail. We can have questions and stuff on after. But yeah, let me quickly just share my screen. Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see my screen? Okay, cool. So basically, I'm just going to go very briefly through this presentation. There's a lot more information on here than I will speak about. Obviously, this is being recorded, so you can always go back and reference to the information and everything. But yeah, basically, this over here is our system. This is an older picture. It is slightly different. We've got nice paint, and we painted all of the drums, and we've just upgraded it slightly. But this just gives you the gist of the manufacturing plant that we have. We've got about a 15-ton per day manufacturing capacity. On the right over there, you can see our RO system. It's about 4,000 liters per hour. And then our electrolysis cell, which is where the hypochlorous acid is made, produces about 1,000 liters of 500 plus ppm per hour. So just a brief overview of our company. We are BE level 2. And we basically present the latest in green, sustainable, safe, and cost-effective solutions for disinfection, i.e. hypochlorous acid. We have got quite a few advantages with our local and international partners, as well as our based team, which is based on scientists, engineers, and professionals with extensive background in this field, as well as in complementary fields. Yeah, cool. So basically, there's the general properties of SANOT 500 solutions. The reason why we don't refer to it as general hypochlorous acid is because there are quite a few differences that set our hypochlorous acid solutions apart from other generic hypochlorous acid solutions in South Africa or even internationally. One of them being that our final product has an incredibly low salt content, up to about 10% of some of our competitors. Another thing is, when we went into this, our main focus was to optimize the system to ensure that we have the highest quality product with the greatest metastability. Obviously, hypochlorous acid is quite an unstable compound, so it needs to be produced and cared for in the right conditions, which is exactly what we did. We ensured that our salt content that's going in there is optimized and of highest purity and quality, as well as our water. So there's three basic properties of hypochlorous acid in general. It's recognized as nature's disinfectant. It's actually also naturally produced in mammalian neutrophils. So those are your white blood cells, your immune cells. And its three properties are: it's antipathogenic, so it destroys or kills infectious pathogens. This isn't limited to just viruses or bacteria. It covers a broad spectrum, so spores, biofilms, fungi, etc. It also does inhibit pro-inflammatory factors. So it acts as an anti-inflammatory agent, which is quite incredible. And then obviously the third property is it stimulates cellular repair. So when your body gets an infection or a wound, your neutrophils rush to the site and it produces hypochlorous acid for these three main properties, as you can see over here. So basically what we've done is taken this and we synthesize hypochlorous acid on a commercial scale, with still retaining these properties that it has naturally inside your body. There are general benefits of hypochlorous acid. The brief ones are: it's eco-friendly, it's biodegradable, it's 100% natural, it's completely non-toxic for animals, humans, and plants, including children. Obviously, ours is recognized as medical grade, so it kills 99.999, that's a log 5, % of bacteria, spores, and germs. One of the greatest properties of it is it is non-dehydrating and hypoallergenic. So you're not prone to developing any allergies or symptoms from using it, and you can use it very frequently. The fact that it's also food grade and no rinsing is required, you can spray it on your food, you can use it in water disinfection, and then there's the additional properties of it being non-hazardous. Obviously, it is water-based, so it's non-flammable, and yeah, it's free from dangerous and toxic chemicals also. It is just pure hypochlorous acid in a liquid solution, H2O solution. So hypochlorous acid in general is recognized locally and internationally. We ourselves have a few approvals and accreditations, but internationally it also has got a few recommendations from governing bodies and certifying bodies. So in brief, you can see we have got our halal certification. We also are registered with South African Sanitation Accreditation Council. The general hypochlorous does conform with organic environments, and it's an ideal solution for HACCP environment. So for food safety, it's been granted the highest level of safety from the FDA, generally regarded as safe. And the USDA and FSIS have granted it as non-toxic and recognized for food additives, as well as the OSHA and EPA have also made some statements about it. There are quite a few accreditations around it. So obviously the CDC and the World Health Organization, which are the governing bodies that basically put all of the guidelines out for coronavirus, or the ones that people follow the most, they have approved it as an effective disinfectant and antiseptic agent. We've done our VC8054 antimicrobial disinfection test. So basically, we've proven that it's effective in food, industrial, domestic, and institutional areas. But we actually went a little bit further, and we also tested it in medical areas. So we've got that over there. Recently, we also received our EN 14476 antiviral test. So this was done in the UK. This basically certifies us against, or our product against, a broad spectrum of envelope viruses, including coronavirus, HIV, leukemia, herpes virus, pox virus. It covers about 15 classes of viruses that were tested for, as well as obviously a number of viruses additionally to that. Our systems themselves are imported. We have one component that's locally manufactured, and then we have an imported component, the electrolysis cell, which is produced in an ISO 9000 to ISO 9000 standards, and it has the Article 95 of BPR stamp on it, as well as CE certification for European Union. The South African Dentistry Association, there's actually a few South African associations that have recognized hypochlorous acid. The South African Dentistry Association stands out. They basically recommended hypochlorous acid as the preferred disinfectant for the dental space, which is quite incredible, and that's over alcohol and iodine-based or bleach-based sanitizing agents. Additionally, the Department of Agricultural, Fishery and Forestry and the South African Water Research Commission have also made statements about its efficacy. SAPRA has reference to it. So you can see there's a number of references within South Africa itself. So that's basically all of the local and international accreditations, approvals, and recommendations. Here is a brief list. The list is actually much larger than this, and even going into the categories, there's many subcategories. But you can see the extensiveness of where it can be applied and used, which is quite incredible. And then obviously this one's quite important. So hypochlorous acid versus alcohol. There's immediate things that you can say about it. Obviously it's non-hazardous, so it doesn't have any flammable properties. It's non-toxic and non-dehydrating. I think non-dehydrating is one of the most common one that people can refer or relate to, because of the excessive alcohol use on people's hands is destroying their skin. It's stripping their oils. It's extremely dangerous, and it does have a number of bad properties to it. One of the other things is hypochlorous acid does not require a high percentage like alcohol sanitizers. So alcohol needs to be between 65 to 90% alcohol content, and that's a broad range of alcohols, whether it's methanol, isopropanol, ethanol. Obviously ethanol being the safest, isopropanol being safe, but there are some negative properties, and then methanol being extremely carcinogenic and toxic. One of the two things actually in comparison between hypochlorous acid and alcohol sanitizers are the direct short-term and long-term problems to do with alcohol. So these are all mitigated from the use of hypochlorous acid. The short-term effects, you can see immediately, it dehydrates your hands, etc. The long-term effects, especially for children, it could have effects on their development. It could have effects on your central nervous system, on your endocrine system, and a number of other things. And one of the other things that people don't consider about alcohol is the indirect risks of it. So alcohol, especially in the medical sphere, is an extremely effective solvent. So it's very good at dissolving chemicals, compounds, actives, and it's extremely effective at penetrating into your cells. So I'll give you a brief example. We're surrounded by toxins, carcinogens, pesticides, insecticides. They're all floating in the air around us. Some of them we breathe in, but a lot of them land on our hands, land on our skin. We might rinse it off. But when you apply an alcohol sanitizer to your hand, you're actually increasing the absorption of those into your body. So you're going to get the you're going to get the direct negative effects of alcohol, as well as those indirect effects. And that can come with a list of problems, depending on what you're absorbing, your environment. If you're living in the farmlands, you're obviously exposed to a lot of pesticides, which could just have extremely detrimental short-term and long-term effects on your body. So that's a basic view over hypochlorous acid, our company, the comparison between alcohol and hypochlorous acid sanitation. But yeah, I just thought I would just go over that. Obviously this is recorded, so you can always go back and reference to some points that you wanted to see, but maybe I could take a couple questions if there are any out there. Sorry, I'll keep my screen shared. So if you want me to go back, I can go back and reference to a page.
Does anybody have any questions for Greg? You've covered a lot. Thank you, Greg. I know someone had a question about ingesting sanitizer or HOCl. Can you maybe clarify that a bit for COVID?
So there's two things about ingesting hypochlorous acid. So one of the things is it is safe to ingest in low concentrations. It is actually an extremely effective disinfectant for water. And also it's used in CIP and processes in, like I mentioned, in HACCP environment. So it doesn't require rinsing after using it because it is 100% biodegradable. But ingesting it pure, I would not recommend ingesting it pure because obviously if you are infected, the virus is within your blood system. It's already past your digestive tracts, the barrier in your digestive tracts. So what would happen is it would destroy your microbiome to an extent, and I wouldn't recommend ingesting it. But there are other applications to do with taking it internally. You can use it in a nasal spray. You can use it as a nebulizer. You can gargle it. You can use it for a few applications. In low concentration, it's even used in eye drops. But that's at about 40 ppm because it can be a little bit irritating at higher concentrations. And yeah, basically, I would recommend if you're going to use it for internal or applications, you spray it in the back of your throat or you spray it up your nose to clear your sinuses or to clear your throat. It will reduce inflammation, and if there's any damage from viral or bacterial infections, it can also stimulate cell repair and reduce the inflammation there. But in terms of drinking it, I wouldn't recommend drinking it straight.
Does anybody else have any questions? You can always put them in the chat box if you'd like to, and we can pick them up from there. So another question that we get, Greg, is, does it heal skin after surgery or injury?
So like I mentioned earlier, naturally it is produced in your body to heal damaged tissue. So it actually reacts with an amino acid called tyrosine, and it converts into this compound that actually stimulates cellular repair. So it does have skin healing properties, and at the same time, it also inhibits pro-inflammatory factors. So that also speeds up the recovery process of damaged cells. Obviously, inflammation also causes further damage. It's very good for initial immune responses, but extensive exposure to inflammation is very damaging. So it does reduce that. So benefits for healing skin and cells in two ways.
Thank you. Do you see the other question that's come up here is it corrosive towards medical and dentistry instruments?
Okay, so that's a good one. It is an oxidant. Hypochlorous acid, that's how it functions, it oxidizes. So unlike alcohol, for instance, which changes the environment around cells, which is why you need alcohol in such a high concentration, it actually changes the environment around cells and dehydrates them, denatures their proteins, neutralizes their membranes. Hypochlorous acid directly reacts. So it is an oxidant, but in terms of corroding medical equipment, it would have no risk of that as long as they are using medical equipment. So stainless steel 316, it's 100% effective to use with. It doesn't degrade the efficacy of the hypochlorous acid. It actually doesn't interact with the hypochlorous acid at all. But for instance, if you have stainless steel 304, which is a very cheap version of stainless steel, which isn't present in medical spaces, it can cause corrosion over extended periods of time of exposure to it. So not immediately, it would take sitting there for a day, a week, for an extended period of time to have any sort of corrosive effect against those types of metals, but not medical grade or food grade stainless steel 316.
Okay. And talking about dentists and doctors, a few dentists and doctors have asked if it is advisable to use hypochlorous to clean their dentist chairs and just generally surgeries.
Most definitely. So one thing, especially for coronavirus, we actually recently received our EN 14476 antiviral test, like I mentioned earlier. So it is extremely effective for fogging applications. You can spray directly to surfaces, and you can use it to disinfect basically everything in your dentist rooms. Obviously, it is not a detergent, so I just want to stress that it doesn't break down oils. It is water-based, but it does destroy microbes and pathogens. So you wouldn't be able to use it to clean up an oil spill or if there's waxes or something present. It is hydrophilic, not amphiphilic or lipophilic. So yeah, it wouldn't be able to be used as a detergent, but it's an extremely effective disinfectant and antiseptic agent.
Thank you. Does anybody else have questions that they'd like to put into the chat box or put your mics on and ask us while we have Greg on?
I think Greg elaborates on how you can apply it in the applications, the fogging and surface disinfectant.
Cool. So obviously, when you are fogging, one thing you must just ensure is that using a ULV fogger. So it must be a pressure fogger. It is sensitive. So hypochlorous acid is 100% biodegradable. It's sensitive to UV light. It's also sensitive to organic material. So as you'll see, none of our products have any fragrances or colorants or any additives of chemicals or anything. For multiple reasons. Obviously, it's effective at doing what it does without the necessity of adding those things, but they do degrade the quality of it. And then also in terms of its applications, depending on where you're talking, for surface disinfections, you can wipe, you can submerge, you can spray, or you can fog. The nice thing is actually some factories use it, some mines use it. You can basically fog out the entire area with your people or employees still present within the facility with no risk of damaging or harming them because it's completely non-toxic, which is an extremely beneficial thing for operations. You can continue your daily operations without having to shut down the factory for the day. Or if you did evacuate it, basically people can come in immediately as soon as the fog is applied. So it's got quite a nice property for those types of applications. Does that answer your question, or do you want me to elaborate in a different way?
No, that explains well. Thanks.
Cool.
So I have a strange question that I often get asked, and that is, how come our sanitizer is so cheap compared to what doctors and dentists have been using? Is it inferior quality? Which we know it isn't, but it is a lot more cost effective, and it's obviously a question that people in the medical profession ask.
So one thing I think that's actually a very good question. So when we went into this, we firstly thought, what an incredible product. It's got all these amazing properties, and one of the things about it is it's extremely expensive. We used to outsource our manufacturing, and we were paying an arm and a leg for it. The thing that we did is not only just optimize the actual quality of the product, we wanted to optimize the pricing, because something like this should be affordable to everyone. It's safe for the environment, it's eco-friendly, it's safe for the people. You can give it to your children to take to school. You have no risk of people drinking it to try get any effects that they would get from drinking alcohol. And obviously all of those are mitigated, which is quite incredible. So I think the reason why ours is at such a good price point is because of our large manufacturing capacity. Like I mentioned, we can produce about 15,000 liters a day. Obviously, that is quite a substantial amount. We do have the largest manufacturing capacity in Africa, which is obviously a very big place. So in terms of that, I think we can credit our affordable prices to our manufacturing capacity. But in terms of the quality of the product, I just want to emphasize this. When we went into this, we wanted to optimize the product. We knew hypochlorous was unstable. We know it's been around for a long time. It's been used in the States, in the UK for a very long time. One of the problems with the first and second generation versions is it had a very short lifespan and it was very unstable. So we went into this trying to optimize that to its greatest. which, as you can see from the factory setup over there, there's a lot of quality control. There's a lot of QMS based in the system. So we've optimized that to a level where we can guarantee a long shelf life, as well as a very affordable price. Does that answer?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you. That does answer the question. And does anybody else have questions that they'd like to answer? Ask. I think you've covered a lot of the questions, Greg. It looks like it. But if anyone does want to ask anything, you're welcome to please ask us now. I would like to know why it's not in more schools when alcohol is so toxic to, well, to anyone under 18.
I think that's because of the government recommendation of 70+% alcohol sanitizers. I think going into this pandemic, fear is a very prominent thing. You can see there's a lot of things that have happened even close to home. So fear is a very big thing, and people are going by the government recommendations and regulations. So I think alcohol was just a easily accessible product that could be accessed throughout the world, which is why it was the focus. Where hypochlorous acid, it isn't very present in third world countries. It's quite prominent in like America, Canada. It is listed on the EPA for a number of different countries for its applications for COVID. But yeah, I think basically it comes down to the government recommendations. I don't even think the government is actually aware of hypochlorous acid and the extent of its properties and safety profile, but it definitely should be in every child's hands, especially because of its safety profile for their short-term and long-term benefits. Also, a lot of these alcohol sanitizers, they're fragrance, they smell nice. Children are drinking them, not on purpose. Maybe they think it's something other than what it is. And obviously, alcohol also requires, one of the other things about alcohol is it actually requires quite a long contact time to be effective at denaturing the virus as well as other pathogens. And as you can see, when you go to the shops, you spray it on your hands and you wipe it off almost immediately. So there's definitely a lot lower efficacy in the alcohol sanitizers based on their the contact time needed, as well as obviously the lack of using it because of all of its negative properties.
Thanks, Greg.
Sure.
Are there any more questions before we end our webinar? It's been really, really interesting. Thank you so much. The presentation was great. Is there anybody else who would like to ask us anything or to give us some feedback, please?
Cool. So I think I must have covered everything, but obviously this is recorded, like I said, and as you can see through all the slides, I did go through it very briefly. So there's a lot more information over here if anyone does have an interest of going through it again. And post this video, you can always ask more questions. You can email us, you can call us. We're always on call to answer any questions or concerns.
Thanks, Greg. And obviously everybody that was signed up for the webinar, we'll send a link to the recording so that you can go through it. And if there are any more questions, we are all here to answer them. So thank you so much, Greg. That was very, very interesting.
It's only a pleasure. And the more questions, the better. I like to know what I don't know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
And
Thank
are there
you.
any last questions before we sign off? Or we seem like we're pretty sorted here, Greg. I think we can sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Have a lovely
Thank you, everyone, for your time. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Trish, for hosting this.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
Okay, Faith for export. Well, Faith, we'll be in touch with you and we can always chat further. If you have any questions tomorrow, please, we'll email you the link, and any other questions you're welcome to ask us. Susan, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll keep in touch and just keep answering your questions. And thanks, Greg, for a great presentation.
Only a pleasure. Have a lovely evening.